Oh my god, it's coming right for us! Run for your lives! Dun, 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 dun. Metroplex, transform! Back in a sec. Chow! Get out of my city!
Don't you mean get out of myself?
Don't you backtalk me. Hey guys, welcome back to Super Important Reviews. My name's Steve.
And my name is Arnaz.
And today I'll be going over my G1 Metroplex, which this was a request from Toys with Drake, and I really thank you for actually chiming in the comments and giving us something to do. And again, if anybody hasn't seen my toy collection video, I'll post a link for it up here so you guys can click on it and go check it out. If you guys see any figures that you want us to do, we will be more than happy to do a figure review for you guys. And again, thank you Toys with Drake, you're awesome. But anyways, this is my G1 Metroplex for my collection. And how I'm going to be going over this is not really like a standard review, because to compare this to a lot of the newer figures, I'm just going to say this thing's rubbish and you're not going to want to pick it up. But for nostalgia purposes, oh man, you need to go buy this right now. So it's going to be a little bit more biased in my opinion. So just to give you guys a little heads up, I'll just be going over the figure for you guys, and then you guys can chime in the comments if you guys think it's actually worth a purchase or not. But other than that, and I'm pretty sure this is a 100% complete figure. If you guys notice anything that I'm missing, please let me know in the comments so I could be a little bit depressed about that. But other than that, we're going to go over his 3 transformation, which is this, his base mode, and weird tank battleship kind of thing. So let's get to it. Alright, so first we're going to go over his accessories, or I should say his other robots that he comes with, which comes with a little tank that they call Slammer, which he transforms into one of the towers, and doesn't actually have a robot form, which is a little bit depressing. It's kind of the same for 6-Shot here, which is just all of his guns and the little body put together to make a robot, which is pretty cool, and I actually like the idea of you can actually use a lot of the other parts to make more things. But it would have been kind of cool if you would have transformed, but for back in the day, this is actually a pretty neat accessory. And the only one that actually transforms is Skimper, which is actually really cool because he comes with the new Titan Metroplex, or at least a version of him that's a little more posable. And I always thought it was really neat that he's kind of gives Metroplex his own playset kind of feel, so you didn't really need a lot of the other Transformers to work with them. Which I kind of wish I had the Combaticons to show you, or at least some of the Combiner Transformers, because I guess they also work with Metroplex, so you can attach them to some of his little peg joints and you would actually get a little bit more play out of them. But I don't actually own those right now, so I can't show you those guys. And I'll show you him in car form. And here he is in car mode, which is actually not a bad looking car mode, to be honest, for how little he is. Granted, mine has seen a lot of play over the years, but overall I still think this is actually a really nice accessory for him. Alright, so first we're going to go over Metroplex in his robot form, which I gotta say, stay. So as you can see, some of my things are a little bit loose on my Metroplex, and overall with this coloring, it's not the best representation of it. But still, I actually really enjoy this guy in robot form anyways. You know, you can just stay down. Which, as you guys can see right here, we'll start with this. He actually has a little storage compartment for some of the robots in his robot form, which is a pretty sweet idea where you have him like popping out and be like, surprise, bitches! And also you have like Scamper with all his weapons sitting on him. He still fits in there too. I'm not showing it off very well right now. There we go. So that's actually really sweet. Then overall, like with the head sculpt here, I actually think it's a really nice looking head. Because I really love the chrome on here, and they're starting to do it with a lot of the new Transformers, which I actually think is a really cool look personally. And especially with the G1s and stuff, like it really helps them stand out on the shelves. I just love the redness of his eyes and these little antennas here, which can move back and forth, and some are a little more loose than others, but I still think it's a really neat look. And then he's got these little cannons on his shoulders here, which can move up and down, which is pretty neat. And then you can also, if you don't really want it sitting out, you can rotate it down, which really helps to show the age of my figure because it tends to sit down whenever I have it on the shelf. So I usually just have it up just so it looks a little better. But still, it's a cool little option. And then he's got these little towers on his shoulders here, which you can also push down if you want, which this one actually doesn't push down, now that I look at it. This one can actually come down though if you really want it. So if you want it to have that weird cockeyed Millennium Falcon thing going on, you could have it sitting up, or I just recommend keeping them up. Stack. Yeah, there we go. And then he's got these cannons that go on his shoulders here, which are pretty neat. So I don't really do much, but I just think it's a nice look. It kind of gives him more of like this fortress kind of look to him that he has going on here. He also has one on the back here, which doesn't really do a whole lot, and it's just his tower with the gun, but I still think it's neat. And then he also comes with these giant cannons for his hands here, which are mainly 6 shots legs, and same with these are his arms. And what's really cool, even though I'm not going to be able to show it to you guys very well, is they're actually spring loaded. So what's supposed to happen is when you push this back, you lift it up and it's what's supposed to work. But mine, actually, the springs are really worn out and whatnot, so it doesn't really do that anymore. But the nice thing is it still holds the missile in anyways, so you don't have to worry about losing it. It still makes for really good storage. And then for the rest of his body, what I think is actually really neat, and I kind of wish they would go back to it, and I know some reviewers argue a little bit over this, but I actually really love that he has these rubber tires here, because it kind of gives him more of like this authentic kind of car look to him, and I just really enjoy that. And I don't really have too much problem. My figure is actually with the rubber breaking or anything, so I really do love this thing. He's got the chrome showing on his legs here too, which mine are a little scuffed up, but it still looks pretty sweet on the shelf. And then for the rest of his body, with his legs down here, really love the decals on here, and even with mine being a little bit worn out, they still show off pretty well. So overall, I still think he actually looks really sweet in his robot form. And his only real articulation is he has nothing really here at the head. A lot of the little knobs here move on him. His arms can move forward and back, which mine are actually really stiff, surprisingly. And then, no, not the gun. And I'm failing. Get back in there. There we go. And then they can pretty much move all the way around. And then he also has a rotation here at the waist. And then for his legs here, they can move forward and back. Nothing really here at the leg here, unless you want to kind of have it pivot a bit, but it's not really recommended. And then one other thing to be a little wary on is, I know I've heard some complaints that he's actually fairly easy to break, because a lot of the pegs get kind of brittle with age. So if you end up picking up this figure or have him already, he can be, just recommend being a little bit careful with him. And here's Metroplex in city form, which I got a bunch of my other little G1s out for you guys, like got Wheeljack here, and there's Bumblebee, Cliff Jumper, and a Power Glide here on the helipad. Just to show you guys that this actually makes for a really sweet display for your figures. Granted, getting him out here, because it's not really scales very well with him. But with a lot of the other figures here, with the smaller guys, they actually work surprisingly well. Like you can have them coming out of here. Then we can take Bumblebee and transform him. And he's not fitting his holes right there. We go. And you can even have him, which he doesn't really like fit in here very well without having to work him in, but still looks cool with Bumblebee just kind of sitting out here, and then we're having back over here. And just, you can pretty much do whatever you want with this. And the other thing that's really neat is, I'm not showing it with a lot of the weapons on here, but you can still actually, all the weapons still has spots on these forms where they just peg in. Now you can put the cannons here on the legs, or you can still sit these like on the turret up here, which is a really nice design. I wish they would kind of go with that more with a lot of the newer figures, because sometimes there's like wasted space, or they actually don't have anywhere to storage or something, or good spots to storage. Now these little figures, I think they usually did a really awesome job with that. Okay, now we're going to go to shaky camera mode, because it's just a little easier to show off the details on this figure like this instead of having the camera stationary. So some of the things I really like about this is back here on the little leg storage compartments, they actually have decals for little computers and stuff here, so it can keep your little Autobots busy while they're standing here on your display shelf. There's not really a whole lot going on here in the bottom, but they still have a decent amount of detailing here for especially how old of a figure this is. And not a whole lot going on in there. Then up at the front of the legs, this is pretty much the normal little ports where there's not really a whole lot going on here. You even take it off these, which I'm not showing off very well. Keep trying. There we go. Because I would like these to be like little ramps or something, so you have like the cars just kind of come off, but the pegs here kind of get in the way, so it's just kind of a weird looking tunnel thing going on there. And then more of the same going on here, just a little place where them just chill and stand out. And then over here is actually a little bit more interesting because back here it looks like there's supposed to be more of like a computer console or something going on here. And then more of the decals for the rest of those. And then he's got his little access ramp here for a quick getaway. And then towards the back there's more of the buildings, which is to help represent this being an actual base. Then the automated sentry right here, which is pretty cool, and it's just 6 shots body, which yeah, can't really get it off without taking it off, but really hard to do with one hand. Can't. Alright, we're just gonna go over this, skip that part. So I'm not doing a good job of that. And then back here is a little helipad for your helicopters or planes to land on. And then for the back of them, not really a whole lot going on here. Just a lot of emptiness. But overall in this base form, I actually think it makes for a really awesome center point for transformer displays. And I just think it actually turned out really a lot better than I even thought it was going to be before I even got this guy. And here's Metroplex in his mobile mode or battle cruiser or whatever you want to call this thing. And I'm just showing with some of the other figures here just to show it off as a display purposes. Which, for me, this is probably my least favorite out of the 3. Granted, it's not that bad, but it's just, in terms of the city and him in robot form, it just doesn't really work all that well for me. And then one thing, actually, just to make sure that I was going to go over everything with you guys, is I actually learned something new today. Taking this stuff off. Is I actually didn't know about this little compartment here, because it seemed really fixated on mine, and what it is right here. If I can get back in. Well, anyways, this part pops down and it shows off these little missiles that come off here. So I actually think that's really cool, and it doesn't look like the person actually knew about it either because it is still really shiny. So I learned something new today. So again, thank you, Toys with Drake, because I probably wouldn't have known about this otherwise. And another little cool thing that I didn't actually show off to you guys in this form, which getting all this stuff out of the way, in his other modes, is back here. You'll see there's this little switch here. What you do is you push forward on this thing, and what happens is, bam! Skipper comes out. And there's just not really too much to the gimmick here, but it's just another neat little thing, and it doesn't show off so well in this form, but and it's a little bit hard to set back down in mine, but still. Get all the way in here, Scamper, show off your things. There we go. So, it's a neat little thing, especially on this, because he kind of comes off the ramp and he's like ready for battle. And overall with this mode, it's not too bad. Like, I like all the cannons that are coming off to the side here. And then, again, you have like the little cannon sitting on the back, and he just looks like he has almost as much firepower as he does in his robot form, which is really neat. And then he has all these little platforms to play on up here. So again, it's really cool, and I love how it can actually roll and stuff, which is really messing up my display here for you guys. But it's a neat form nonetheless. So here's G1 Metroplex compared next to, I think I gotta move the camera a bit. Alright, so here's G1 Metroplex compared next to the Generations Titan class Metroplex, which, you know, granted, you can see all my guys are still displayed on them, but there's just so much difference between the size, and especially for the price. He's going to cost you a little bit less than what this guy is, but you can kind of see where all the value goes for this guy anyways. And here's G1 Metroplex compared next to his arch nemesis Trypticon, which is the Decepticon city base. And here's Metroplex compared next to G1 Optimus Prime. So overall, G1 Metroplex, I actually really love this figure personally because he's actually a really big transformer when you compare him to a lot of the other guys. And his city mode's cool, his mobile form is perfectly fine, even though it's not my favorite, it's okay. And then him in robot form is actually really sweet looking. So I was very happy when I ended up trading for this guy, and I just think he's worth a purchase.
Personally, like, I'm not a Transformers guy. I don't collect them. But his City one form is probably the best I've ever seen. I just like how you can display everything on there. And I really love him just for that fact right there.
And on average, for a near complete Metroplex, online I see them going for somewhere close to 100. And then the complete ones go for varying degrees, a little bit more or less. But you could probably win one in an auction for a little bit cheaper than that. And that price doesn't sound bad to me personally. So what do you guys think? Do you guys love the G1 show? Are you guys a big fan of Metroplex? Or do you guys just think the Titan class Metroplex is the nuts? Please let us know in the comments. We'll have pictures of them on our Facebook if you want to click the link description below. And if you like this video and want to see more stuff like this, please give us a like and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching.
Bye-bye. Oh, man.
This is what happens when I leave Arnez alone for a few minutes.
I tried to transform it.